Hi, I'm Dr. Reinhardt, and welcome to your Day 1 Discovery Exam. You can call me Dr. Reinhardt or Dr. Sam, whatever works easiest for you. And just to begin, I wanted to introduce you to my family. Here's my wife and my three daughters. I've got a 6-year-old, 4-year-old, and 2-year-old. Never saw myself as a girl dad, but life happens, and now I can't see it any other way. I'm sure you have a lot going on in your life, so I also want to say thank you for taking time, either this half-hour appointment for a STEM wave discovery exam or the hour that you've set aside for the chiropractic discovery exam, to put your health first and to take care of your body, because there's a lot of other people in your life that are relying on you and a lot of things that you want to do with your body. So thank you for taking the time to do that. First slide here is our cycles of life, and this is the whiteboard out in the open neurocheck room behind you. And a lot of our education and even our first exam, this first visit, will be based off of what you see here on the chart. So I want to explain that. Up in the top left, life has three different kinds of stresses. There's emotional stress, chemical stress, and physical stress. And these types of stresses, they overwhelm our brain and nervous system. Now, any particular stress would be a component of one or all three of these, but these are the categories of stress. When our brain gets overwhelmed and our nervous system has more stress than it can handle, it blows a fuse, so to speak, and this nerve interference situation and scenario is created. The chiropractic term is subluxation. If you break that down, sub means less, lux is light, ation is state of, so it's a state of less than optimal light or life or energy or communication, but it basically just means nerve interference. So nerve interference, if you know what nerves do, you can tell what nerve interference and subluxation is. So that's the next natural question, is what does the nervous system, or what do nerves do? They do carry pain. That is an extremely small portion of what they actually do. Here's the autonomic nervous system. Think of this as the automatic nervous system. It is what runs your cells, tissues, and organs. Now, muscles are a different part of your nervous system, but this gets a very good idea of how your brain runs every part of your body through the brain and spinal cord. It comes down your spinal cord, goes out these different nerves, goes to every cell, tissue, and organ, and the brain has to be able to send a signal down the spinal cord and out to the heart, and then the heart needs to be able to communicate back to the brain. It's a two-way street, just like all forms of communication. So what you need to know is that your brain runs every single part of your body, and it does it mostly automatically, so you need to make sure that it's communicating correctly. And that's what we're going to look at today. Here's the neural fuse box. This is a really cool chart of the different causes and effects, and so the different parts of your spine, what they do, and possible effects. Possible, key word there. It is not an exhaustive list. There's no way we can list out every single symptom, because symptoms don't tell us really what's going on. There are 10% of your body, 10% of your brain controls all sensation. I'll show you that in a minute, but we cannot rely on symptoms to dictate or understand how well we are functioning. So please don't do that. But this will be included in your report of findings, your second visit, your welcome packet, so you have a copy of that for yourself. Back to the cycle of death. So if you do have nerve interference, if we find that and you're in a diseased or imbalanced state of function, well, that's going to lead to decreased stress response, health, and quality of life. Here are some of the main systems of the body and what can happen, kind of an overview here to keep in front of your mind. But how do we know if you have testing today? We're going to do that testing today. And the testing that we do is going to walk through in 3 different sections. So the autonomic nerves right here, this yellow bundle, we're going to do an infrared thermometer. Take a temperature reading of the spine and look at your spine and look and see how those blood vessels are balanced and how the heat signature is balanced. That tells us how your autonomic nervous system is controlling blood vessels, organs, and glands. Second test will be a motor nerve. So we're going to read the electricity coming off of your muscles along your spine. That tells us how well your brain is controlling your muscle system, your muscles, your spinal alignment. There's a lot that comes into that. The third one is called the pulse wave profiler, or it's a heart rate variability scan. Essentially a stress test to see how you are perceiving your environment, how your sensory function in your brain is working, and also how your brain is controlling posture and temperature has a connection to your x-ray that we'll do if we see that as clinically necessary. The key part here is that this pain, this dark red, about 3% of your body controls pain, and only 10% controls all of your sensation. So what we want you to take away is there's a very small part of your brain that transmits pain. Feeling good does not equal good health. Good health comes from healthy function. So in our office, we're going to ask how you're healing more than how you're feeling, because if you're healing well, eventually you're going to be feeling well without drugs. And that's what we want to have everybody get to that point. Here's an intervention chart. So if you do find nerve interference, there's a lot of different things you can do to try to help your body work better. But chiropractic is the only one that's specifically focused on assessing and then removing nerve interference. And so when we look at adaptability findings, chiropractic does have the best bang for the buck as far as what the research is showing, where the research can show it has significant and consistent adaptability findings. Cool thing is you don't have to just do one of these, you can do multiple. And this test up here, these are very similar tests. Some of them are the exact same as the ones that you'll be able to do. All of these are looking at stress response. The better you respond to stress, the higher quality of life you'll have and the healthier you will be. And that's part of our mission. Back to the cycle of death here. So if we're living with that, we're going to have decreased stress response, health, and quality of life. And then you'll have a choice. If you get the medical diagnosis, a lot of times that's not addressing the root cause of the issue. If you have a label given to you, sometimes the diagnosis helps to communicate what's going on. Sometimes it becomes a label that is emotionally stressful. Chemical stress, well, that's a medication. All medications are a chemical stress. Sometimes they do save a life and they are necessary. There's a time and a place for that, but they are a chemical stress that we need to be aware of. And physical stress, like a surgery, for example, that's a physical stress. So if we're not addressing the root cause, a lot of those interventions can feed back into the cycle, but there is a time and a place for medical intervention. So hear me out. My wife is an RN, and so I see both sides of that, and I want to have a balanced perspective, but I also want to use that appropriately and not abuse that. So down here, though, the other option is if we can remove nerve interference, well, then we can send you out into the cycle of life. And that's what I want to talk about here for a minute. Nerve supply is the most key part of the cycle of life. Life began when our nerve supply started, and life ends when we lose our nerve supply. When you're born, that's the first time you needed oxygen. You started to breathe by yourself, and then you needed water, and then you needed food. So we can kind of look at the importance of this. Food's really important, but you can go three weeks or more without food. You can go more than 3 days without water, 3 minutes without oxygen. There's not really a time you can go without nerve supply, or that you want to be with an altered nerve supply. So the faster we can remove that, the better your stress response will be, the better your health will be, the better your quality of life will be for you and your family. And on that note, that's an important thing to make, is an important distinction to make is kids, they're like little adults, and the birth process is extremely traumatic, even the most natural, especially if there was a forceps or a forced removal, forced birth, a traumatic birth, especially C-section. We need to get these kids checked because scoliosis is preventable, and I think it's completely preventable. Not to mention all the colic, reflux, all the other different things, immune challenges. They are little adults, and we want the best for our kids, so please get your whole family checked. We have reduced and promotions for getting a second, third, fourth family member checked. We try to make it as affordable as possible because that's what we want to see. We don't want to see the most sick one of the family member, one member of the family, but we want to see the whole family, and then you get to see how the whole family functions better together. How everybody gets less sick, everybody misses less school or work. It's really cool when a family becomes their little study of five and they get to see that and experience that for themselves. So, in conclusion here with the cycle of death, I want you to know, and trust me, but I just want you to know that I'm willing to risk you not liking me or what I have to say to tell you the truth. After all, the truth is what sets us free, and I want you to know that I'm going to bring the truth first. And on that note, here's the last and most important thing I want you to know about me. I'm a follower of Jesus Christ, and the gospel or good news of who Jesus Christ is and what he has done for us is the most important thing in the world. Regardless of whether you know Jesus as your Lord and Savior or not, I'd love to hear about your beliefs because there's probably something I can learn from you. But I'm not here to push my beliefs on others, so I'll do my best to let you bring up your spiritual health if you want to, and I want you to know you're welcome to it anytime, and I really hope that you do. So we'll be with you in just a minute. We'll get started on this testing process, and this is going to be a critical part of us figuring out if this is a good fit for you and if we want to partner in achieving your health goals. We'll be with you in just a minute.